Alright, gang. What's up? I'm here to talk to you today about how crazy, how disgustingly gross MedievalGallantmon is. It's unironically a custom card. I could not have designed a better card other than maybe adding in the text line that says, also, this effect always resolves first, even during your opponent's turn. Disgustingly good card. The only thing holding it back from being the best card in the game, in my opinion, is the way that the game itself works, which is on your opponent's turn, effects resolve first. Now, I'm getting well ahead of myself. Why do I think MedievalGallantmon is the best card in the game right now? As well as, what does it even do? Well, for those of you who don't know, because I understand, Gallantmon x-antibody from EX8 is definitely the more flashy card that makes Gallantmon a really, I would say, good deck. However, I think this card is as good and as transformative for more decks than Gallantmon X is. Even though Gallantmon X is seeing play in decks aside from just, you know, Guilmon packages and stuff, I've seen them be used in Galaxy Toolbox now, which is really cool. However, I think this card has more use than the Gallantmon X does. What this card is, it's an 11 play cost, 11k DP. Evolve on top of a red or green level 5 for 3. When digivolving, you may suspend one Digimon. Then you may delete one of your opponent's 8k or lower Digimon. For each other suspended Digimon, add 3k to this DP deletion effect's maximum. It has the effect that when you would play this card, by spending 2 Digimon, reduce the play cost by 4. It can be on any side of the board whatsoever. You can just suspend 2 Digimon, and this guy's play cost goes down to 7, which is really good. It's like a 2-color ace's play cost, but without the downside of being an ace. Nor you don't get the upside either, mind you, but still. It has Alliance and Vortex on it, so it can attack the turn that it's played, which is really good. So it has like pseudo rush for beating over things, as well as Alliance helps it kind of eke out a little bit of extra damage, make use of superfluous bodies, which we'll get into in a second, but also kind of hit that threshold for your Vortexes that you can pretty much out most things, depending on what your deck is. And then finally, all turns, once per turn, when Digimon are played, full stop, not by effect, or not on your opponent's side, not by you, just when a Digimon is played, you may activate one of this Digimon's when Digivolving effects, which, mind you, that little last line, you may activate one of this Digimon's when Digivolving effects, is not future-proofed as well, because there could be a time in the future where you're able to stack multiple extra Digivolving effects on a Digimon, similar to like how Shoutmon, I believe, has all the ability, not Shoutmon, Gamamon, it gives its abilities to its like boss, to the point where it has all of the abilities of the cards in its stack that are named Gamamon. So there's some future progress there, but much like the Gatomon, that whenever let's see, there's a Gatomon that trashes from security, it plays itself out. Let me see if I can find it. It's this one. When an effect trashes a card from security stack, you may play it without playing the cost. If you trash this Gatomon from the security stack, its all turns will also trigger because it sees itself being removed from the security stack. So not only does it play itself out for free, it also gets the memory. Similar to that, this MedievalGallantmon, you suspend 2 things on the board, be it on your side or your opponent's, or some mixture between. You play it out, it immediately activates the alternate effect if you would like to use it. It's not mandatory to use, however, and if you choose not to use it, it doesn't skip the activation. So in some certain scenarios where a card has like an all turns, if this thing happens, and if you elect to not do that, it like misses timing and you cannot use it for the rest of the turn. This card's all turns and when digivolving don't work that way. So when digivolving, you can suspend a Digimon, then you may delete. So you can suspend a guy, but you don't have to delete it, which is really good. Having the utility to choose not to pop something, fantastic. And that comes up a couple different times. We'll go into that in a second. But also, the all turns not being used, like your opponent can try baiting it out with a play that they want you to pop. You can just choose to hold it. And then if they play the thing that they didn't want you to pop, you can then choose which one to delete at that point in time. You can hold it until either you think you're not going to be able to get better use out of it, or if your opponent's going to out it in some way, so you're trying to get as much value out of it currently. Disgustingly good card. So much utility, so much flexibility. It quite literally is it's hard to imagine a card that's designed with this purpose in mind better. Unless like something about the game fundamentally changes, or they just make it like a 3-cost level 7, you know? Obviously there's ways that they could do it, but like within like the reasonable bounds of the game right now, I think this is unironically one of the best cards that could be printed currently in the game. And for context, this card can remove 2 bodies off the field. Assuming your opponent has 2 Digimon, you play this guy out. One of them has 14k DP, and the other one has, let's say, 8k DP. You will suspend both of them for 7, pop the 14k DP, and then swing over the 8k DP. That is a 2-for-1 card immediately. That also sets up a body on the field. That sets up interaction on your opponent's turn. Because now they ever play something out again, you will be able to delete, because your Medieval Gallant is now suspended, you'll be able to delete 11k or lower if they just play it out. Insanely good just off of that. But as we're seeing, I think this unlocks a lot of new archetypes going forward. In Japan, and like in the Eastern territories, we're seeing this card being played in so many different decks. I'm just going to show off a couple of lists. So here we have like a really unique like pseudo purple hybrid Beelstar list that's like making use of not only like medieval Gallant as like a potential top end and like removal spell, but also just making use of Shoto and Mother. Mother Shoto is really, really good. And I think this list is really interesting as well, because they play 1 Mother and 4 Demi-Meramon, understanding that they won't consistently see the Mother for their Shotos, but they're okay with that, because they're trying to draw through their stuff. They're doing more like traditional purple hybrid stuff, trying to see the engine, trying to be a Beelstarmon deck. But if they do end up seeing it, boom, Mother Shoto right there. Super cool. I like that. But the reason that I think this is super interesting is because Mother and Shoto obviously have some incidental synergy, as those of you guys know, making a 15k unaffected blocker every turn is really, really good. However, you can also get more use out of it with the Medieval Gallantmon. Let's say you have 2 or 3 Mother D Reapers out and like 1 or 2 Shotos. One of the Mother D Reapers aren't going to actually be useful to you. So you can use them as suspend fodder for the effect. Your opponent doesn't have anything out, but you want to like make a proactive play. You can just play out the Medieval Gallantmon for 7, get a level 6 out, have it interact with your opponent's board, make it so they can't just play something for free. Have the Mother suspended, really cool. You can alliance check with the Mother, making this a 26k checker into your opponent's security for 2 checks. That's really good, making actual uses on the Mother D Reaper body. Not only that, obviously, you can Vortex Alliance into your opponent for a 26k body, which will beat over, I think, literally everything in the current format right now. I can't imagine anything that gets to a point where it's like 26 plus KDP for multiple turns. So realistically, that will beat over it. But not only that, Medieval Gallantmon is a Vortex Warrior. Shoto Kazuma supports the Vortex Warrior trait, so it does give piercing at the end of turn. And so the idea would be, your opponent sets up 2 bodies, okay? You suspend those 2 bodies, you play out the Medieval Gallant for 7. End of turn triggers, you activate the Shoto, you give piercing to Medieval Gallant, then you use the Medieval Gallant, pop one of the bodies, then you use the Shoto to give piercing to the Medieval Gallant, then you swing into the body that you want to beat over. Doesn't matter how much DP it has, because you're going to be 26k, because you're on Alliance check with the Mother D Reaper here. 26k, 2 checks, piercing, over a body, straight from hand. 7 memory. If this was an option card, I think it would see pretty ubiquitous play of just like delete 2 things, trash 2 security from your opponent's side for 7 memory. This is a Digimon, so you can then check 2 more next turn. It is continual interference with what your opponent's game plan may be. And even if it's not, it's still a threat that they have to remove nonetheless, because if they don't remove it, you can just play something else, I don't know, like say another Medieval Gallantmon, and then you're popping 2 more things on the side of their board, and then you have another Vortex trigger. It's so gross. And not only that, let's say they have 1 thing, and you have 2 Digimon, let's say a Mother D Reaper and something else. You suspend whatever you have on your field and the thing on their side. You pull out the Medieval Gallant. You choose not to use your alternate effect to delete anything, and instead, you activate your end of turn Shoto, and then you go into the Vortex, you swing in, you Mother D Reaper. That's still 2 checks, even without them having to have the second body. So you're able to consistently do that in a Mother D Reaper Shoto list, just by slotting this guy in. He slots in so well there. And mind you, that synergy works in so many different decks. Obviously, Mother D Reaper's getting a huge bundle of support in the next set, and they can make use, obviously, of Medieval Gallant Shoto Kazuma. Really, really good. But not even like these control style decks, this deck also fits in like the toolbox variants as well, where you can just shove a medieval gallant in. Oh, you can go medieval gallant, you can burst. It's not, you can't even swing over it consistently because they can always ace into the crimson mode too, because this card is, well, not only a Gallantmon, so you can also digivolve it on top of it for one less, mind you, but it is a red-green card. You can make use of other control tools as well, like Quartzmon, or even blast ace into the paladin mode. This card, I think, being red-green, gives it options for the 2 best level 7 aces we currently have available to us, which is disgusting. But they're playing it in Gallant, or in Galaxy Toolbox. They're playing the new Gallant X as well in Galaxy Toolbox. Very, very good. They're playing it in Eosmon, just, you know, you slap in a couple copies of this guy. He just gives so much utility. He is unironically an option card that it's like, okay, you summon security, so link you check, that's like whatever, that's fine. But if you have him in hand, it's disgusting. It's such a good card. They're playing in Plant Box as well, just really good. They're playing him in SecCon. Unironically, this card is really good. So good, in fact, that it's making a new, like, pseudo archetype in SecCon. Like, there's like 2 or 3 lists that I've seen that are like almost exactly the same here, that make use of like the recovery aspect, as well as Melody Reaper, Shoto, and Medieval Gallant, and then using aces to kind of just as like hard play removal spells, but also keeping some of the option utility that you're known for in SecCon, but just moving more towards like a black base, because you have the best aces currently are like black, and then obviously because you're using the removal stuff, you play it a little bit into like the yellow aces. This one being your Hell Scythe that you would play out one of your Magnet Angemon from, but instead you just play this guy for 7, and then you play out one out of the Magnet Angemon instead, which is really cool. This Seraphimon also removal and more recovery. Shadow Seraphimon ace, again, very similar thing. Ragnarlord ace for like just like putting pressure on your opponent, and then, you know, you have your option bombs and stuff. I think this deck is not good yet, but obviously there's like something being made here. There's an archetype that is being made of like a control style, not SecCon necessarily, but like just control style good stuff, where you just see all these like powerful cards and these powerful like just like 1-ofs and like 2-ofs, 3-ofs, 4-ofs even sometimes, where eventually an archetype will be made of just like, this is just our good stuff deck. And I'm super, super excited for something like that, because I think this card is so good, so disgustingly good. And here's another variant of like the list that I saw where they're playing like a little bit of the recovery, not as much in on the recovery, mind you, but more in on like the searchers for Shumon to find the Shotos, the Digimon Liberator to find the Shotos, and obviously Shumon searches for Shumon, and the Digimon Liberator also searches for Shumon. And because you're playing Melody Reaper, you always have the white color to be able to play the Digimon Liberator out, and they're playing a lot wider variety of option cards as well, and a lot more tamers. But nonetheless, I mean, Medieval Gallant still sees a very prominent spot. Then finally, the last thing I want to talk about for Medieval Gallant is Dark Masters. So those of you guys who have been following me for a while know that I have a unhealthy obsession with this deck. I always try to get it to work, and the best I ever placed, 17th in an Ultimate Cup. I was very, very proud with it. I was so sad that I couldn't get top 16 with it, but this is the list that got me to top 17. There's one card missing here. I was playing something else, but I've tinkered with the list even up to this point. But I haven't touched it in a while because I said, you know what, I don't think Dark Masters is good enough to get me to where I need. However, I think that Medieval Gallant is such a powerful card that, unironically, it probably can see some good play outside in here. And the reason I think that is, one, obviously Dark Master stuff searches level 6s up, so you can search the Medieval Gallant, so you'll have the most access to it out of every deck possible. You can get rid of some of your weaker aces and some of your weaker cards, like probably Double Zort and the Ebon Wound. I could probably just toss and feel pretty good about. Replace them with 3 Medieval Gallants, and I think the deck feels and looks really good there. Maybe add a Crimson mode or 2. Maybe look at my level 7 slots and see if there's anything I want to do. But not only do I think it has a really good spot here, however, I think it also makes Ultimate Chaosmon a much stronger consideration going forward in the list. I know that Ultimate Chaosmon was something that we tinkered with a lot when Dark Masters originally came out. However, it didn't see a lot of huge success because of the decks that we were fighting against at the time, being like Paladin, and primarily it was Paladin's fault that this card wasn't very good, just because of the fact that they would strip your strong level 6 aces from underneath your Ultimate Chaosmon, essentially removing the partition and then getting a huge bonus from it, making this guy kind of just like a dingus on field, not doing anything. With Paladin kind of falling off, And with Medieval Gallant fitting one of the color requirements, being able to just slot a Medieval Gallant that's on field underneath the Ultimate Chaos, or even just getting it back from trash and putting it underneath, and then, you know, should this guy get removed, because they have to remove it because it's a quad, it checks for 4 with piercing, 16k, it's really, really, really strong, but they have to remove this guy, and if they do, you can just immediately partition out the Ultimate Chaos, or not the Ultimate Chaos, immediately partition out the Medieval Gallant, trigger its effect, and pop something else on field. Disgustingly, disgustingly cool, disgustingly, disgustingly good, and while I don't know if that synergy will necessarily make it, I know for a fact that it is a, like, 3 of in this list for sure. I would 100,000% play some amount of that. And then, you know, I'll also add in Metal Tie Randommon, the new one here in EX8, has some utility as well with the list. Obviously it's the same Digivolve, Digivolve 1, whenever your opponent's Digimon until the end of turn, then their effects can't return this Digimon to hand or deck or affected with the Digivolve effects, which is really nice as well. And I think it's probably better for us than the Rapidmon, question mark. It's hard to say in the immediate. The Rapidmon is obviously really good, but where is the Rapid at? Oh, let's level sort real quick. There we go. This Rapid makes it so it can't be deleted either, which is nice. However, it requires you to have a green Digimon, whereas this Metal Tyramon requires you to be suspended. And the reason I bring this guy up immediately is because he suspends himself on play. So 7 cost on play, suspend this guy. If he suspended the Digivolve 1 of your opponent's Digimon until the end of your turn, this effect can't return. Then until the end of your opponent's turn, their effects cannot return this Digimon to their hands or deck, to the hand or deck, or affected with the Digivolve effects. So the fact that it's immune to Digivolve for the turn is really good, because obviously you kind of want to ace on top of this guy. But not only that, the idea here is you have Medieval Gallant on play right now. You have it on field. Let's say, you know, you swing in, you do the check, 11k into security, it lives, it's suspended, you're now like 11k DP body. But unfortunately your opponent has a 14k DP body. You play out the Metal Tyrannomon, it immediately suspends, so you will trigger his effect first. You have everything go off, and then you can trigger the Medieval Gallant effect, which will then delete a 14k body because it's the second body on the field that's now suspended. Which is really cute synergy. I really like it a lot, and I'm very, very excited to actually test this deck out going forward. And I have a renewed drive to start playing with Dark Masters again. So if you guys liked my Dark Masters stuff, please, by all means, you know, stick around. You guys will see some more stuff about it. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I think that Medieval Gallant, unironically, is probably one of the best cards printed, and I would be surprised if we get a better card in 2025. But if you disagree, let me know. Hugs and kisses, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe.